There we go. I think we're going there. Hang on. Give me a second. Can everybody hear me okay? Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've done this solo, so please bear with me. But there we are. So how are we doing, chat? We're here on TSW 5. I've got to remember to make sure I say TSW 5. So we're here to talk you through sort of some training bits and pieces. So sort of if you're first coming into the game, and we're going to go through some tutorials and bits and pieces, and I can go through some little bits of description and bits and pieces like that. If there's anything that people would like in particular, please let me know. Let me just see. Can you hear me over the game, or do I need to turn? I'll just turn the game down a little bit. So what we'll do is, so these are your different tutorials. So you got how to play, heads up stay, moving a train from the cab, passenger operations, camera control, diesel introduction, moving a train from outside. So what I will probably do is we'll do a moving the train from the cab, and then we'll go from there. Brilliant, Liam.
In this training module, you're going to learn how to make a train move and then bring it to a stop. For this exercise, you'll be using a British Class 323 electric multiple unit. It's a great train to get started with, as the controls are quite straightforward. This module will get you used to the feel of the train and its controls. While many trains have different controls and are operated in different ways, there are basically always three controls that are common and are required to move the train. The reverser chooses the direction you're going to move in. It often has 4 positions: off, forward, neutral, and reverse. The brakes are used to slow or stop the train. There are potentially multiple braking systems you can find in different trains, and you can read more about that in other sections of the training center. For now, the Class 323 has a very simple braking system. The throttle controls how fast the train accelerates. In this train, the throttle and brakes are controlled by a combined power and brake handle. Moving the handle in one direction will apply power. The middle position is neutral and does nothing, and then the other range applies the brakes. You will find in some other trains that the throttle and brakes are on separate handles. Before you go any further, set the headlights for daytime running and ensure the tail lights are off.
So we've got tail lights on, so I'm going to turn the tail lights off, and we're going to put them into day head, which you can see there.
We want to move the train forwards, so set the reverser to the forwards position.
So into forwards.
Now pull the combined power and brake handle towards you to release the brakes and apply power. In the top left, the accelerometer shows you how fast you're speeding up or slowing down.
Speed up a little bit.
Now that you've reached your target speed,
Reached target speed. Sorry, I missed that. I was moving it backwards. Sorry about that. Now we hit the target speed. We're now braking. So you can see the power handle. I'm now bringing the power handle back. See A and D keys on the keyboard. There we go. Actually, I was meant to still go. Oh dear. I'm good at this, aren't I? There we are. Never mind. It's off.
When it comes to stopping trains, the specifics of each train can be quite different. However, the basic process is fundamentally the same. Bring this train to a complete stop by moving the power brake handle into the braking range.
There we go. So just brought it into the braking range. There we go.
The amount of braking you will need to apply also varies depending on whether you're going uphill or downhill and how heavy your train is. Knowing the right amount to apply will come with practice and experience. Stopping a train is one of the biggest challenges of controlling it, particularly stopping it in the right place. That concludes this module. If you wish to replay it, you can come back to it at any time via the training center.
Can you move yourself down a bit, please? You're blocking the track monitor. Okay, yeah, I can probably do that. I need to go into some of the settings anyway, because I found that some of my HUD bits are missing. So give me a couple of minutes, because I had to do... Let me just put it on this screen. I'll be back in... There we are, I'm back. Sorry about that. I was just making sure I've got everything. It's because I had to do a reinstall of the game recently, so I hadn't set everything up. Right, okay, so where were we? Right, so we've done the how to drive a train from the cab. What we'll do is we'll do the outside, and then what I'll probably do is we'll go through the diesel. We'll go through the changing ends, and then we'll do probably coupling and uncoupling. That's quite important. And then what we'll do is we'll go into steam locomotives then, and then we'll go into learning how to drive all the core locos that you get with Trains in World 5. So like the 350, the 377, etc. So... Yes, chat. Sorry, I'm doing well. It's because I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing. So I will move my camera. Let me just move my camera a minute. What one? That one. Let's move me up a bit. There we are. See if that's better. Right. Let's do that one. Oh, awesome, Jimmy 9K. Are you enjoying the free pack? There we are.
In this module, you'll combine everything you learned from the moving a train, passenger operations, and camera controls modules, but from outside the train. Now you'll have the freedom to enjoy external cameras while driving the train. Before you go any further, get the lighting all set up correctly.
There we go.
You can activate the master key by pressing the indicated keys.
There we go.
Now press the keys indicated to set the reverser to forwards. Just as with other modules, you're currently sitting in a Class 323 multiple unit. You must now switch to the exterior camera. If you need a reminder on how to do this, head over to the camera controls module first and have a quick refresher.
There we go. So, oh, hello.
Aside from the magnificent views, exterior camera views can make it easier to complete tasks such as coupling, checking your lights, and changing junctions.
See, I've got the headlights.
Only a small number of the most common functions are usable for an exterior camera. If you find you need to do something that isn't available, simply switch to the internal camera to do it, and then switch back. Finally, press the key indicated to apply some power. There are two keys, one to add more throttle and one to take throttle away. Experiment with them a little.
So take the power handle off and you see it now. There we go. Now off. And if I bring it down, then put some braking in. And I'll bring the power back up again. Put it into off. I'm now just going to coast. And I'm using the arrow keys on the keyboard just to zoom around the unit now. There we go. As you can see there. Go.
Now that you've moved down the track, it's time to bring the train to a stop. Use the key.
So I'm now using the A and D keys, and then depending on what version you're on, whether you're on console or things like that, you can see where my stop marker is there.
Try restarting this tutorial and running it a few times until you're comfortable with driving from the outside, including moving the camera around.
There we go.
That concludes this module. If you wish to replay it, you can come back to it at any time via the training center.
There we go. So, I mean, that gives you the sort of basics there. What we'll do is we'll go back into training center. So obviously this is your locomotive list, but what we're going to do is we're going to go through diesel, and this is in basics. So we'll go into diesel, and then we'll go into probably go into coupling and uncoupling, and then we'll do steam locomotives then. Right, let's go into there.
In this training module, you're going to learn to drive a diesel-electric locomotive and how the controls differ from a multiple unit. This is a BR Class 66 diesel-electric locomotive, typically used for freight operations in the United Kingdom. In some trains, it is first necessary to insert the reverser handle. We need to do that on this one.
You can see there's no reverser handle, so we need to put that in. There we are.
We want to move the train forwards, so move the reverser in that direction.
So we now want to move it into forward like that.
The train brake on the Class 66 uses a sprung lever. Holding it one way will gradually release the brakes until you release the lever. Holding it the other will gradually apply the brakes. You need to keep an eye on the two brake gauges in front of you. The larger one in the middle is the brake pipe. The outside needle shows the target pressure and the inside needle shows the actual pressure. When you apply or release the brakes, the outer needle moves and the onboard control systems will begin to adjust the brakes to match your setting. You can make a change to the brakes and focus on the road ahead while the system works to match the pressure you've set. The second gauge of note is the brake cylinder gauge, which is the second from the left. This tells you exactly what is happening with the brakes on the two sets of wheels on the locomotive. If the needles are raised to a V shape, that means they are fully applied. When the needles are both pointing directly down, the brakes on the locomotive will be fully released.
So it's this gauge and that gauge.
You can learn more about braking systems elsewhere in the training center. But for now, you just need to remember that you are directly controlling the outer needle on the brake pipe gauge and that the end result is shown on the brake cylinder gauge. Keep the brake control in release until you can see the brake pipe control needle is reading 5 bar, pointing upwards. This will release the brakes fully.
There you go.
Watch the brake cylinder gauge to see it gradually reduce to 0.0. Needles pointing downwards, which tells you that the brakes are now fully released on the locomotive and you can move the train. It's important to note that the brake cylinder gauge is only telling you what's happening on your locomotive. If you have wagons attached, they can take a little longer to release, so if the train doesn't move immediately, don't worry.
Yep.
Apply some throttle to get the train moving. As you apply power, notice the ammeter rising, the gauge on the right-hand side with the colored sections. This is the amount of power being fed into the traction motors. Try to keep it in the green section, only briefly in the yellow, and avoid the red section to avoid damaging your traction motors. Now that you've reached your target speed, you can move the throttle control back to 0. The train will then coast on level ground and the train will only slow down very gradually.
There we go. That's our, you see our stop point there. But yeah, if you've never tried this game before, I'd recommend going through all the training modules. If you've never played any Train Sim World games before, go through the training modules. It explains a lot, and you can go through there.
That's far enough. Bring this train to a complete stop by holding the brake control in the apply state until you see the brake pipe control needle in the center of your cab desk showing about 4 bar. The amount of braking you'll need to apply also varies depending on whether you're going uphill or downhill. That concludes this module. If you wish to replay it, you can come back to it at any time via the training center.
There we go. So that's the diesel locomotive. So that starts you on the Class 66. Let's go back to... let's go back to training center a minute. We go into tutorials, into basics, and then we're going to do coupling and uncoupling. Then we'll do steam locomotives, and then we'll go into having a go on sort of 353s, you know, going through the other locos.
In this trading module, you'll move some mineral wagons to a new location and learn how to couple and uncouple the wagons to your locomotive. All junctions are going to be changed automatically for you in this tutorial, so you can focus on driving. The mineral wagons are located ahead of us. Start by pulling gently forwards until you touch the wagons and stop. This will take some practice as it requires a lot more fine control. You'll find the locomotive brake is easier and more responsive. Take your time. If you hit the wagons too hard, they might come off the track, so try to be gentle and aim for 2 miles per hour or under as you touch them. You may also prefer the external camera to give more visibility, particularly as you get close to the wagons.
Hello Tintin, how we doing? Right. Let's release the brakes now. Same as we did before. Just got to wait for everything to release. I'm waiting for that gauge to 0.05 there. Right, there we go. So you can see now we're rolling. We've got to not hit these too hard, the mineral wagons here. I'm using the direct brake, which is just the loco brakes, a bit more reactive. Now using the 8 cam on the keyboard just so I can roll nicely towards it.
Next step is to couple up. You can either do this by using the external camera or by getting out and doing it by hand. In this tutorial, you'll learn both techniques so you can decide which one you prefer. There are many types of couplers on the railways. In this case, you've got conventional UK chain couplings, which simply need you to put the loop over the hook on the other vehicle. In the sim, you can do this by simply interacting with the coupler when you see the appropriate prompt. Apply the emergency brake with the emergency brake plunger. This will empty all air out of the brake pipe and prevent the brake pipe from overcharging as you couple to the wagons.
So it's over that side.
Do this one by getting out of the train. Leave the cab and walk over to the coupling.
Right, okay, right, we've got to leave the cab now.
Interact with the coupling to couple the vehicles together. Now head back to the cab. Unset the emergency brake plunger to restore the brakes. Then you'll need to shut this cab down and change ends. Follow the instructions here or check out the training module that covers changing cabs in more detail.
So changing cab ends, you'll set it to neutral, take the reverser out like that. Normally you'll check the brakes as well, make sure the brakes are on because you don't want your train to run away. So what I'm going to do is go on this end now. You also have to check your lights as well, make sure your lights are all okay. Right, there we are.
Set up the train while you wait for the yard manager to give you the all clear to reverse into the siding once they've changed the junctions required.
So now doing the same, putting it into release.
Junction set, you're clear to go. Now pull the train forward and notice how the brake pipe responds more slowly as you release the brakes. You'll feel your train taking more time to respond. It will also feel sluggish as it has extra weight behind it. Take this into consideration as you drive, noting that it now takes longer to speed up and, more importantly, longer to slow down.
There we go. How's everybody in chat? All good? Ah, yes. I can't remember if there's a tutorial on that. If not, I can probably have a go at that. I've got to remember myself how to do it because I can't remember. Now putting this into reverse.
Looks like you're good to go. Drive the train back into the siding now.
Right, so there we go.
Apply the emergency brake with the emergency brake plunger again. This time, use the external camera for the uncoupling operation. Switch to the external camera now. Fly the camera over to the coupling we want to uncouple. In this case, the one between your locomotive and the first wagon. Once you get close enough, interact with it as normal and it will uncouple.
There we go.
That concludes this module. If you wish to replay it, you can come back to it at any time via the training centre.
There we go. So that's coupling and uncoupling. What we'll do now is we will go on to steam locos now. So we'll go on to moving and stopping.
In this training module, you'll be learning the basics of operating a steam locomotive. You'll be driving this Stanier Class 8F steam locomotive. When you're ready, climb onto the footplate. Sit in the driver's position. Start by preparing the locomotive for departure.
There we go. So
The reverser determines the direction of travel and how much steam is consumed as the locomotive moves.
we put it into forwards.
Set the reverser to full forward position. You will need all available power when setting off.
There we go.
This locomotive has a combination brake that controls both steam and vacuum brakes. Steam brakes will apply on just the locomotive. Vacuum brakes will apply to the rest of the train so long as it is equipped with vacuum brakes. The brakes are released when a vacuum is created. The driver can use the brake handle to destroy the vacuum, which will start to apply the brakes. To create a vacuum, you should use the ejectors.
Which are up here.
The small ejectors should be left open when the train is running. The large ejector can be used to more quickly increase the vacuum after coupling or heavy braking. When the locomotive has been left standing, you'll want to open the cylinder cocks or remove any water. Water in the cylinders can damage the locomotive as it doesn't compress like steam. Move the combination brake to the release position and then use the large ejector as needed to get the brakes released. On an uphill start, you may want to apply a little power with the regulator first to prevent rollback. Don't forget to put the large ejector back to off when the brakes are off.
So put the brakes off like that.
The regulator acts like the throttle control for steam locomotives. It controls how much steam is delivered into the cylinders. Applying too much power too early can cause wheel slip, so increase it slowly. After a few wheel rotations, the cylinder should have been blown clear by the steam jetting.
There you go. Close the cylinder cocks.
Starting to pick up speed. Move the reverser towards forwards 25%. This reduces the amount of steam let into the cylinders and saves energy.
So we now reverse down to 25%.
To drive a steam locomotive, you'll mostly be managing the regulator and the reverser.
This one.
The regulator puts steam into the cylinders. The reverser uses that steam to power the pistons and manage the power you get from the locomotive. As you accelerate, you'll want to gradually pull the reverser back towards the middle, usually no less than 15%, in order to make the most efficient use of steam and get the most out of the locomotive. Practice and experience will show you how much to adjust the various controls by. The way you manage the controls will vary depending on the type of steam locomotive and the weight of the train behind it, but the fundamental process of what each control does is the same. Use the combination brake to apply some braking force and bring the train to a stop.
There we go.
That concludes this module. If you wish to replay it, you can come back at any time via the training center.
So that gives you an idea of starting and stopping the locomotive. So there we go. What we'll do is we will now go into training centre. We'll look at the locomotives, and what we'll do is we'll have a go at driving those. What we'll do is we'll start with the 350 and then make our way through. So we'll do the 350. Pardon me. We'll do the 350. We'll do the 377, the 390. We'll do the ICET. And then we'll do the Flix train and the F125, I think. So we'll do a few. I'll probably do one of the others as well, but we've already done the 66. So we'll start with the 350 and go through there.
In this training module, you'll be taken through the operation of this Class 350/1 electric multiple unit. For this introduction, you'll be driving the train a short distance and performing passenger operations.
There we go.
Sit in the driver's seat.
There we go.
Set the master key to on.
There's the master key in there.
This electric multiple unit, or EMU, features dual electrification and can be used with both third rail and overhead electrification.
Press the battery to on. AC power for 2 seconds.
Set the pantograph switch to the up position. This will raise the third rail shoes to disconnect them and raise the pantograph to connect with the wires above, swapping the power collection from 750 volts DC third rail to the 25,000 volts AC overhead. Set the headlights to daylight to indicate to others that this train is operational.
There we go. Now loading the passengers. So we've got doors open. Liam, I think you put it into neutral. I think it's just a way of reminding yourself that because you'll have all the safety systems, so putting it into neutral. So yeah, it's just a way of remembering that you put it in neutral and then you put it in your direction. Close train doors.
Set the reverser to forward. This controls the direction of travel.
So now you've got the power controller. Put that into, there we go, notch 1. Yeah, exactly, Londo Spark. Stops you bumping the throttle and putting it into move.
On level grades, you can coast to maintain your speed, reducing energy consumption and stress on the motors. When coasting, always remain vigilant of the gradient, as changes could cause the train to speed up or slow down. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of braking force by moving the combined power brake handle into the braking range.
There we are.
approaching the station, begin applying a small amount of braking force by moving the combined power brake handle into the braking range.
There we go.
Nice job. The train has safely come to a stop. You can now use the passenger door controls to open the doors.
Yeah, it does a bit, doesn't it? It does sound like a UFO. Now loading passengers.
Close the doors and drive to the next station unguided. Good work. That concludes all the basics of operating this train.
There we go. So that shows you the 350. What we'll do is we'll go to locomotive list. What we'll do is we'll go to the 390. I'll leave the 370, 377 this time. We'll do the 390, the ICT. We'll do the... We haven't done anything with like push-pull units, so we'll do a push-pull double stock run. So we'll do the ICT, that. Probably do the Flix train, and then we'll do a couple of Americans. So let's move on to the 390. Hello, Mr. Train Guy. How are we doing? Liam, I haven't done the... let me just change that over, because I've done it in kilometres. But I'll have a look at that in a second.
In this training module, you'll be taken through the operation of the Pendolino Class 390 electric multiple unit. To begin, insert and set the master key to OM. Set the headlights to indicate that this train is operational. After setting the reverser, you will hear an alarm. This is the tilt authorization and speed supervision alarm and will need to be acknowledged. Set the reverser to forward. This controls the direction of travel. The tilt alarm will sound for a second time. Acknowledge the alarm again.
There we go.
TAS uses communications between an onboard computer and trackside beacons to inform the train of the enhanced permissible speed, as well as disabling the system when not in speed supervised zones. When in speed supervised zones, the blue speed supervised light will illuminate and allow the train to drive at the enhanced permissible speed. When outside of the speed supervised zones, the blue light will not be illuminated and you will be restricted to the maximum permissible speed. If you exceed the enhanced permissible speed by more than 3.5 miles per hour, the TAS warning light will illuminate and an alarm will sound indicating that you must reduce your speed. The light will extinguish and the alarm will stop when you are below the enhanced speed limit. At more than 6 miles per hour above the enhanced permissible speed, the TAS warning light will flash and a penalty brake application will be enforced. To stop the penalty brake application, you must reduce your speed and press the intervention reset button.
There we go.
Open the passenger doors to allow boarding.
So now we've opened the doors. A lovely, lovely train this.
Close the doors before departure. Move the power handle into the power range to get moving.
As you see, it's a very heavy, quite a heavy train. Let me just do the, where is it? Options, settings. Where is it gone? Not that one. It's the one same one I went to again. General. No accessibility. No controls. Controls? No, it's not that one. Screen? No. Where's that gone to now? Chat, do you remember where that's gone? Changing the... Where's that gone now? Player assist. No. Advanced settings. Oh, yes. Yes, it's on the... It's not in this settings, is it? I've got... Oh, HUD and gameplay. There it is. Where's it gone? Signal marker. Automatic. Right, I think. You just do that again. There we go. That's done it. Yeah, if you get stuck, chat, there's always the manuals as well. There's lots of information on there. There's all the tutorials. Loads of YouTube channels have all done tutorials on how to drive different locomotives units, how to do the different game modes. So yes, check them all out as well. So yeah, who's enjoying TSW 5 so far? Who's got it installed? I must admit, I'm enjoying it.
Now you've built up some speed, you can return the power handle to the off position to begin coasting. The Class 390 was developed as part of a plan to overhaul services between London and Glasgow. Originally just an 8-car formation, demand meant that the Class 390s now appear in 9 and 11-car formations, capable of carrying more than 450 passengers. After 20 years and 300 million miles, Avanti's Class 390s have undergone a full refurbishment, preparing them for the future.
Yeah, we've got to stop at that station now. Oh, good to hear, Liam. Sorry.
You're approaching the station. Begin applying a small amount of braking force by moving the power handle into the braking range.
Just rolling, taking the throttle off and then braking. Oh, sorry, I'm braking and then taking it off. So I can relaxingly come in.
Good work. That concludes all of the basics of operating this train.
There we go. Fantastic. So what we'll do is we will go to our next loco, which will be the ICT.
In this training module, you will be taken through the operation of a DB BR 411I CET, Electrical Multiple Unit. ICE stands for Intercity Express. The T in ICET stands for the German word Triebwagen, meaning multiple unit. Set the reverser to forward. This controls the direction of travel. Set the headlights to indicate that this train is operational.
Here we go to normal.
The ICET is equipped with GNT to facilitate a smoother ride and higher speeds. Enable the GNT now.
Ah.
GNT allows trains to tilt, enabling them to drive at up to 30% faster than the signed speed limits. Open the passenger doors to allow boarding.
Türen geöffnet.
The ICET is the only German high-speed train in service that has tilting technology. This means that it leans into curves, similar to a motorcycle, so that passenger comfort isn't as affected by G-force. Close the doors before departure.
Oh yes, I haven't thought about taking it on Taranda ramp. I would like to do that.
The BR411 was built in 2 production runs, one in 2000 and one in 2004. They have been across all of Germany, as well as on services to Vienna, Austria.
Right.
Move the throttle into the power range to get moving.
Jackery, what do you mean by crew area? Do you mean in training centre or? Do you mean in the 390? Yeah, no, it's not on the ICT. We've just been on the 390. Yeah, I thought you had. Yeah. No, we've just been on that.
With a top speed of 230 kilometers an hour, it is the slowest of all ICE trains currently in service. This, however, is rarely a problem, as it is mainly used on routes with many curves and lower speeds. Now you've built up some speed, you can return the throttle to the off position to begin coasting. On level grades, you can coast to maintain your speed, reducing energy consumption and stress on the motors. When coasting, always remain vigilant of the gradient, as changes could cause the train to speed up or slow down. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin over-speeding, apply a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range.
Chat, have you got any training module questions? Is there anything like you've been struggling with, you know, with TSW 5 in the sense of, you know, getting a train moving or anything? Sorry, I've got an itchy nose tonight.
You are approaching the station. begin applying a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range.
Liam, that's because I've set it to miles per hour, but yes, I've noticed that it seems to be that if you're on British locos, it doesn't seem to go into miles per hour, it goes into kilometres, doesn't it? I've noticed that. Oh well, I've overshot, never mind.
Nice job. The train has safely come to a stop. You can now use the...
Geöffnet.
There we go.
Good work. That concludes all of the basics of operating this train.
Fantastic. Right, so that's the 114. That's the ICT. We'll do the flicks. Oh no, we were going to do double stock. Actually, yeah, we'll do the. Yeah, we'll do the little training module on how it. And that works. And then we'll go on to Flick's train then, and then we'll go on to America then.
In this training module, you'll be learning about vehicles called control cars or cab cars. In the UK, they're often called driving van trailer or DVT cars, and you will likely come across other names for them too. The name cab car will be used for the rest of this module to keep it simple. Cab cars are essentially a passenger coach with a driving cab in them, but most importantly, they have no means of propulsion themselves. There are no engines or motors, so they can't move under their own power. The way that a cab car works is it will remotely control a locomotive at the other end of the train, and this is where it's important to understand their behavior as being a little different to the cab experience of the locomotive itself. There may be a little lag in control response, and you may not quite have the same instrument outputs as you do in the locomotive itself. For this module, you'll be taking this German Doppelstock cab car, which has a BR146.2 locomotive at the other end, setting it up and then driving it forwards to a marker at the other end of the yard area. Revisit this module a couple of times to try different things out and get familiar with the subtle difference when driving from the cab car. One of the biggest and most obvious differences when driving from the cab car is that there's a lot less sound. Since all the motors and fans are at the other end of the train, it can be a little disconcerting at first.
Okay, climb up in here.
Engage the brake system by turning this key. Put the reverser in forwards.
There we go.
Turn on the headlights and set the signal light switch to headlights. Most German trains have these two controls to enable headlights, one on the desk and one on the back wheel. Ensure the doors are closed. Release
Yeah.
the brakes and apply some power to get moving.
Oh, the reason we don't have double-decker trains in the UK is due to the loading gauge.
It feels a little odd at first. All the audio cues you're used to in the cab aren't present here, so you just need to give the locomotive time to react to your commands. Experiment with some power and some brakes and see how the train reacts. You may find some sharp jolts happening because of how the slack is being bunched up or stretched out by the loco at the back. You can minimize this by making your first power or brake applications lighter and then increasing them. You'll get used to this with practice and experience. Cut the power and coast the rest of the way.
You can see it's very quiet in the cab. You can't tell if you're putting power down or not, so you have to look at all the different monitors and bits and your HUD to make sure that you're doing that. Yeah, the loading gauge doesn't really... To have double deckers in the UK, the loading gauge would have to be increased, and in Europe the loading gauge was already and the rest of the world was already quite bigger versus the UK, because the UK we all built them before sort of loading gauge, so like over bridges and electric wires would all have to be moved up. Tunnels and bridges would have to be made bigger and taller. So the amount of effort and money to bring in double-decker trains would be a huge task.
This is far enough. Bring the train to a stop now by applying the train brake.
Yeah.
This is just a brief introduction to cab cars. The changing ends for cab cars training module goes into more depth about both the cab car and the BR 146.2 locomotive on the other end of the train. That concludes this module. If you wish to replay it, you can come back to it at any time via the training centre.
Right, there we go. So that gives you an idea with the cab car. We'll now move on to the Flix train. And then we'll do a couple of the Americans. We'll probably do probably F125, and then we'll probably do the cab car for the Metrolink. So we'll do the Flix train.
In this training module, you will be taken through the operation of a Flix Train BR 193 Vectron locomotive. For this introduction, you will be driving the train a short distance and performing passenger operations. To begin, set the master key to on. Set the reverser to forward. This controls the direction of travel. Open the passenger doors to allow boarding.
There we go.
Close the doors before departure. The train is now ready to depart.
There we go.
Move the throttle into the power range to get moving.
Very funny, Liam. Dreamer, yes, it is very true, that, yeah.
Now you've built up some speed, you can return the throttle to the off position to begin coasting. On level grades, you can coast to maintain your speed, reducing energy consumption and stress on the motors. When coasting, always remain vigilant of the gradient, as changes could cause the train to speed up or slow down. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range.
Yes, next roadmap will be in October. So look out for that. We'll have more news on that when it's out. Speed up.
You are approaching the station. Begin applying a small amount of braking force by moving the train brake into the braking range.
There we go.
Nice job! The train has safely come to a stop. You can now use the passenger door controls to open the doors. Good work. That concludes all of the basics of operating this train.
There we go. Fantastic. So that's the Flix train. What we'll do is we will go to America. So we'll do the F125 and then we'll do the cab car, and then that will be probably it for tonight. That gives you an idea of how to drive all the locomotives, or a lot of the locomotives. There's also other bits, but yes, go through all the introductions, go through all the tutorials. There's loads of interesting things to go through.
In this training module, you will be learning to operate this EMD F125 Spirit diesel locomotive. During this brief introduction, you will be taken through the critical driving controls and performing passenger operations. When you're ready to begin, climb aboard. Sit in the engineer's seat. You'll now go through the steps needed to take over this locomotive. You will need to set the generator field switch. This needs to be enabled for the locomotive to generate power. This locomotive requires the reverser handle to be inserted before operation. Switch the front headlights on. Regardless of the time of day or weather, all locomotives must have their headlights on.
There we go.
You'll need to set the brakes to the correct mode to allow them to be controlled by this cab. We can now begin loading.
Right, so brakes are sorting themselves out. Liam, I can't remember how to do it from PZB. I'll see if there's a quick tutorial, but if there isn't, I'd have to brush up on that one. Because I can't remember from PZB. I haven't used PZB, Liam, in quite a while. And I think some locos are different.
The reverser determines the direction of travel.
Yeah, sorry.
The automatic brakes are controlled with their own handle, but will blend the dynamic brakes and air brakes. The air brakes will apply braking force to every car in this formation. Now, release the brakes. The master controller controls both the throttle and dynamic brakes. Dynamic brakes use the locomotive's electric traction motors to generate resistance to reduce the wear of the brake pads. Apply a small amount of throttle.
Yeah, I'll see if there's the PZB tutorial, Liam, and I'll go through that.
On level grades, you can coast to maintain your speed, reducing energy consumption and stress on the motors. When coasting, always remain vigilant of the grade, as changes could cause the train to speed up or slow down. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, slow the train using the master controller's dynamic brake range. The EMD F125 is a passenger locomotive manufactured by Electromotive Diesel for the North American market. It's powered by a Caterpillar C127-20 V20 diesel engine, rated at 4,700 horsepower, 3,500 kilowatts, and is capable of speeds up to 125 miles per hour, 201 kilometers an hour.
Hello, Jack.
When it launched in 2017, it was the first new passenger locomotive in North America in 15 years. To date, 40 have been produced, all of which were supplied to Metrolink. The F125 features a modern streamlined body designed by Voslo España.
We'll stop there. That's using the 9 key. Me.
You are approaching the station. Begin applying a small amount of braking force using the automatic brake to bring the train to a gentle stop. There we go. Nice job! The train has safely come to a stop. You can now begin loading.
Not exactly where I needed to be, but there we are. A little bit further than planned.
Good work. That concludes all of the basics of operating this train.
There we go. Right, so we'll move on to the cab car. Let me just double check to see if there is a PZB one. 2 seconds. German cruise control. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so there's information about German safety systems on there. So if you go into train operations, and then you go into German safety systems, it's in there. It tells you about it in there. It's not in basics. German cruise control. Yeah, no, it's not in there. And it's not in gameplay. But yes, have a go in, have a look in train operations. So yeah, let me go back to tutorials. No, what was There we are, that was what I was looking for. I'm not sure, let me just see. An LZB introduction, 420. Cruise control. No, it doesn't seem to be a one of those, but we'll go into the rotor car. No, it's not a separate tutorial. There's information about PZB. I think we've done some tutorials on PZB and LZB, Liam. There should be some videos on it.
In this training module, you will be learning how to drive a Rotom cab car.
I don't want to do that tutorial
During this
just because I
brief
can't remember off the top of my head how to get out of the PZB. So I don't want to tell you wrong. So I need to just double check. So yeah, right. Platform's a bit high, so we've got to crouch apparently. Right, where are we going? Oh, we've got to go upstairs, because we have.
Take a seat in the engineer's position so that you can prepare the train for service. For this introduction, you will be completing a full loop of the circuit and performing passenger operations when you reach the next stop. Prepare the train for departure. The cab setup switch must be set before attempting to set up the rest of the cab.
There we go.
The automatic brake needs to be cut in to allow this vehicle control of the brakes across the entire formation.
There we go.
This train has a removable reverser, which will need to be inserted before setting a direction of travel.
Leans forwards, there we go.
Set the headlights, as this will let others around you know that this train is operational.
So put them into dim.
To begin loading passengers, you will need to open the passenger doors.
So the doors open. There we go. Right, we'll wait for this to close when we get going. Obviously, again, it's like the other cab car, so there'll be a delayed reaction because obviously we're at the other end of the train. So you've got to remember when you put your power down. Not to...
It is time to depart. Close the passenger doors.
Go. Doors are shut.
The automatic brake controls the braking force across the entire formation and will need to be released before you can move the train. This train features a combined power and brake handle known as a master controller. To get the train moving, move the master controller into the power range.
I have a feeling I've done something wrong there. So you can see on the HUD there. There we go. That's what I've done wrong. There we go. So we should, in theory, get power now. There it is. Yeah, Volley, I'll see if I can speak to team about what we can do. Maybe we do another one of these and I'll learn some safety systems and we'll go through it again. Maybe we can do a safety system tutorial video or live stream if anybody would be interested in that. Maybe it's something we can do at a later date.
On level grades, you can coast to maintain your speed, reducing energy consumption and stress on the motors. When coasting, always remain vigilant of the grade, as changes could cause the train to speed up or slow down. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of braking force using the automatic brake. First debuting in 2010, the Rotem cab and passenger coaches were introduced as part of Metrolink's plans to upgrade their passenger rolling stock to the next generation. An initial batch of 117 coaches were produced, with each of them utilizing the latest in crash energy management technology, a first for a passenger train operator. The new stock also came fitted with a variety of interior upgrades, which included redesigned seats and work tables, as well as energy-absorbing zones at each end of the coaches. The new design also allowed for a maximum carrying capacity of 570 passengers.
Yeah, okay, I will have a look into doing a tutorial then, or a live stream about safety systems then, whether that'll be me or someone else. I'll see, maybe Matt may want to do that. I know Matt has done it in the past, a few years ago, maybe doing that again would be good. Pardon me. It's a long time. I haven't been playing as much Train Sim World, and I'm getting back into it again. Carl, no rough time. Keep an eye on the roadmap for any updates on that. No news currently. Hello Alexander, how are we doing? Coming this station now.
You're now approaching the station, so prepare to slow down the train. Use the automatic brake to apply some braking force to bring the train to a gentle stop in the indicated position.
Hello Johnny, how are we doing? There we go.
Now that the train has stopped, you can open the passenger doors.
So there we go. I mean, that's driving the cab car. What I'll do is I'll just go through the tutorial menu again.
Good work. That concludes all the basics of operating this train.
So there we go. Right. So as I said, if I go back into here, give me a second. So this is your tutorial for different locos, and you can click on the different locos and gives you a introduction into each. If I then go tutorials, you've got basics, train operations and gameplay. Basics, obviously you go through those. If you haven't played TSW before, I'd recommend going through all those. It will take time, but it is worth it. You'll learn everything and it make the game a lot easier to play. Again, with train operations, you've got all about different signalling systems as well. Always worth having a read through these. And it'll go through, even show, I think some of them show pictures, I think, as well. If I go into, do they show pictures? No, some of them, I'm sure some of them show pictures as well. And then gameplay, how to use guard mode, how to use free roam as well. Recommend going through those. But yeah, go, and you also got creative tools as well, formation, livery designer and scenario planner. So yes, definitely go through all those. I hope that's helped today. If there's anything you'd like to see, like a specific stream or specific video on something specific, learning how to drive, have a look as well. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that have done some really good tutorials as well. And yes, it's brilliant. We've now got a fantastic space now to show you how to go through tutorials and how to start up in the game. It's quite easy to pick up. I mean, it's something I've been doing for years, so but don't be too afraid. If you think you want to do it again, you can always just go back in and try it again. There's no concerns about, if it's going to take you a week to learn one locomotive, then that's fine. If it's going to take you 10 minutes to learn the same loco, that's fine. Always, keep going at it. Think of the drivers in the real world. They have to do months and months of training, and it takes a long time. But yes, there we go. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.